But hey, before we move on to the next tune, and again, you want to stay tuned because here coming up in a little bit, we're going to play for the first time anywhere. Because as far as I know, I don't think this has been played anywhere. The debut, which is going to be in the docu-series, but the song that Alex wrote for the docu-series called Radio Dayz. I'm very excited to play that. But before we get to that, I want to ask you about another incident that occurred in your journey that led you to us today, involving a Seattle legend.
Yep.
I'll let you take it away because I know you probably know what story I'm talking about. So go ahead.
Well, actually, there's a couple stories. So I think where you're talking
Chris
about.
Cornell. Chris Cornell.
Okay, so the Chris Cornell story. Are you talking? We got the one major thing in my life that was absolutely unsettling to me at the time. You know, to be a young person that has a lot of spirituality growing up. And you come from a family where if you do wrong, you're going to hell. You know, I mean, legitimately, a lot of us grew up in that. You know, you're doing wrong. You know, it was pretty strict and hardcore. And it's kind of funny because Chris Cornell, I didn't even know this until after he'd passed away, that he grew up Catholic, which I grew up Catholic myself. It's wild. In some ways, it creeps me out to hear some of the similarities in our lives, especially after knowing him, especially after, you know, I only spent probably 5 times in my life. I consider him a friend, or almost like, I don't know if you'd say cohort, but the time we spent together, like an hour sitting down writing, where it was him and Jerry Cantrell and myself in a warehouse in a floor with acoustic guitars. It really started off where Chris was, you know, sitting there writing with his acoustic. I went and got my acoustic because I'm like, I am not going to miss this opportunity. Jerry came over because he's like, hey, Chris, I'm having a hard time finding a part to this song. Can you help me? So Chris is always, I'm certain in many ways, Chris was a go-to guy for a lot of guys, kind of like Prince was for a lot of people. He went, picked up the guitar. Here, Jerry, take this. This is your bridge going in. Jerry took it. Thanks, Chris. It was like a friend handing this guy $1 million freaking bridge to a song. There you go, bud. No problem. Which is really cool stuff right there. But the thing is, I could never figure out, because of all of Chris's music, he had so much stuff about God and spirituality and like song like Jesus Christ Pose. And, you know, I was always, as he in his words, mystified by, I'm excited because I'm like, I love God, you know, does this guy love God the same way? Maybe this is a good connection, you know? So being out there in Seattle and experiencing it, but that night, when we were done jamming, we started playing football in what's called Knapp's Warehouse, which was where every one of the big bands, we were living in Nirvana's studio with my band Green Room. Pearl Jam, I jammed a show with Courtney Love there. When they had a big party one night, she jumped on stage, and we need to, you know, the drummer, you played the last show, get up here. Man, I jammed a song with Courtney Love when she was in the band Hole while Kurt Cobain's at home watching his baby. But getting back to this warehouse was huge. They had Spinal Tap's Skull in the corner, about 50 feet away. We're playing touch football. All these famous stars in there, and they decide we're going to start betting who could take the football and throw it in the, you remember the movie Spinal Tap?
Yes.
Okay, they had a big skull on the stage, a massive skull. It was about 8-9 feet tall. And Jerry Cantrell, I think maybe Stone Gossard, one of the guitar players from Screaming Trees, and Chris Cornell sitting, still playing his guitar, and we're just watching this and money piling up. Nobody can get it done. Chris walks up there, and I mean, this is a true story. You tell me what you think, okay? He walks up and says, don't you guys know that gambling is evil? He turns and faces us and starts speaking. He actually got down on his knees, and he starts speaking in tongues with his eyes closed. He stands up, turns around, and within seconds throws the football, and it goes right in the eye socket and stuck in there.
Wow.
He took the money and said, I told you gambling's evil, thank you. And he walked away and he left. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. It was Easter Sunday. Wow. Easter Sunday, Ron, that happened. Wow. And on top of that, I thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown because I myself just witnessed something creepy, maybe miraculous. Chris Cornell sent me home from Seattle unintentionally. I mean, who knows what my career would have been if I stayed there. I was jamming. My band that went out there, most of the band started partying. One got a job out there, said, I'm going to stay in Seattle. We weren't doing what we were supposed to be doing, living in Nirvana studio.